Thank you for having me. Well, merhaba, nashil shaniz, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Wish I was there in person. But I'm going to open up with a little question for you all and just answer in your mind, which is I'm wondering if any of you are horror movie fans, right? Any scary movie fans? If so, just wondering what you all might find scarier. Is it those ghosts? Is it the cannibals? Is it the serial killers? What do you clowns? What do you all find really scary? For me, I find like all the ghosts and supernatural stuff really much more scary than anything else, just because you don't know what's going to happen. They could just show up anywhere, anytime. But even if I had ghosts and monsters and serial killers and clowns together in a room, they would still not be as scary as that blank page, right? That ever hungry beast of an editorial calendar that always is waiting to be fed. So, and I know I'm not the only one, right? We hear from marketers like you, like me, every day that content creation, content strategy, distribution tend to be some of the most common pain points. And so that's really why I put together this session today. I wanted to share with you some really creative strategies for finding much more success on LinkedIn, especially in the face of all the constraints that we're dealing now. So we'll cover three different things. I'll talk to you about how we can still be super creative even in the face of all the constraints. Second is my rebel time where we're going to break some of the rules that that says like best practice says we should do this, and I'm like, we're going to do that, but we're going to do it differently. And then I want to leave you with some ways that you can turn ideas into action plans. And if you have any questions, you can always hit me up on LinkedIn or we can chat after here as well. So now I wanted to focus today's session about creativity, but it can feel so challenging sometimes to be creative because look at all the constraints that we've been facing, whether it's budgets getting cut all the time, whether it's like produce tomorrow, whether it's all of this competition with AI generated content, or sometimes something else, something even bigger, like you are trying to stand out and compete in a very, very crowded space. Now, I always love to share this example. If I looked just in the US and I looked for companies that sold CRM systems, according to some IBIS World research from last year, it said that there are 1,383 CRM system providers just in the US. What if tomorrow your company needed to purchase a CRM system and you were in charge of buying one? How many of these 1,383 companies would you review? Are you going to evaluate all 1,383? No way, right? There's not enough time. You're probably going to go with the 5, the 10, maybe the 20 whose names stick in your mind. In fact, and we even looked at some research to show that the companies that tend to get bought are the companies that people tend to remember, that tend to stick out in people's minds, such as the Salesloft, the Microsoft, the SAP, the Oracle. How can you compete with these really big giants? It can seem like a really huge constraint, right? But that's where creativity comes in, right? Good creative is an investment. Good creative can drive 20 times more sales effectiveness than mediocre creative. This is what you're going to compete with. This is your edge. This is how you're going to level the playing field and stand out against the really, really big behemoth companies or the most popular companies in mind. So if we think about these as constraints, we can either let ourselves get really discouraged, but no, I say that we should think about constraints as creative challenges. And in fact, one of Google's operating mantra is that creativity loves constraints. If you had too few constraints, then you would be very complacent. We've seen some of those big companies that go out of business, right? They're just like, they feel very complacent in the market. And so there's awesome, I love this quote from Harvard Business Review that says, constraints help you provide focus and a creative challenge that motivates people to search for and connect information from different sources to generate novel ideas. So I want to share with you some really out of the box things that we're seeing on LinkedIn today to give you ideas for what you can do yourself. And I'm going to explore these across all, regardless whether your goal is bottom funnel, whether it's top of funnel awareness, whether it's middle of funnel. I've got examples that cover all of these. Now, increasingly, what we're seeing successful brands do more and more on LinkedIn is that they're really leveraging their real estate to stand out and gain attention. They're doing this through surprising images, fun animations, right? All of this that help people just stop the scroll. If you think about it, we just spend so much time scrolling every day, right? And scrolling past, ignoring content doesn't take any effort at all. What takes effort is actually just stopping. What's going to stop my thumb from scrolling to stop and pay attention? And so if you can grab that attention, grab that awareness, you're going to get people to stop and engage. And speaking of surprising, I want to show you a really out of the box example. This is from the language learning company Duolingo. They did this guerrilla marketing stunt at a recent Charlie XCX concert. So Charlie XCX, Brat, Summer, all of that. You would have seen her. She's all over TikTok. What Duolingo did was they made fans in the front row wear masks of the company's recognized mascot, the owl. And as a result, when Charlie XCX was singing her song, she called out Duolingo. So I'm going to play this video. It's only 5 seconds, but take a look. Okay. And the cool part is because it was so front and center, it was so clever done, it was so attention grabbing. Charlie XCX herself posted that video on LinkedIn, and it earned them so much media across platforms, including LinkedIn. Like there were tons and tons of posts on LinkedIn that shared Charlie XCX's video showing Duolingo. And can you imagine like the amount of reach and earned media they got just from doing that? They had over 20 million plus impressions according to Ad Age. So it worked super well. Now you're like, okay, but I'm not Duolingo. I'm not going to a Charlie XCX concert. What do I do? Well, the one thing I showed you was video. Video is the top format on LinkedIn for driving dwell time. Now, what is dwell time? It's the amount of time a person spends looking at the creative while scrolling the feed. So the more time that they're actually dwelling on your creative, the more time they're paying attention, the more chance that you can have some brand awareness. And so you want to get people to dwell and spend time looking at your creative because you put in so much work on it. And so our data at LinkedIn shows that if you have a dwell time of 9 to 11 seconds, you will see a 20% higher brand awareness compared to an ad that got 1 second or less. So you want to do that attention grabbing. You want to hook people. And in fact, yes, video is like the top one for dwell time, but mix up your formats too. Another really great trick that a great tip that we're seeing on LinkedIn is to use many different formats at the same time. What that does is it helps to avoid creative fatigue and it helps to add variety. So what we saw in our research internally at LinkedIn was that brands that had 3 or more different formats live over a 3-month period saw a 23% higher median dwell time than the brands that did not. So that's a cool tip for you. And whichever formats you're doing, try to just maximize, take up maximum real estate, right? The more space you have, the more attention grabbing you are, the more people can really see. It's harder to ignore. And so what we find was like the supersize your assets. If you're doing like an image, don't just do the horizontal, do the square or do the vertical, and you'll just keep seeing higher engagement rates as well. Let's go look at more examples. Now, another way of, let's say, I love this example from Google Cloud, where it's not just the dwell time, but you can get really creative with your format. So if you are using that large image, you can get super creative, like feature a variety of topics in a way that will drive interest, right? Try to be visually compelling. So here they're doing like a bingo card, which is interesting. And I like that because it made it fun, and humor, relatability, fun, like those kind of emotions tend to make people want to engage more with your ad, right? Creative that tends to be more emotional focused, so elicits a kind of emotional response, tends to connect better with audiences. So Calm, which is this meditation app, is like, well, who takes care of the people? Who takes care of people when they're creating something for HR professionals? Or SAP, it's showing the frustration of trying to open up a package. It's so relatable. We've all done it. And not to toot our own horn, I swear I did not create this, so I can show this LinkedIn example, but I love what LinkedIn's social media team does. It just says that, sometimes we can all struggle with a little bit of professional imposter syndrome at work. And so it's just so lovely that, hey, just a reminder, you deserve to be here. You earned your spot. You're not an imposter, right? It's just hits you in the feels. So good creative doesn't have to be expensive to create as well, right? It's a simple image, but just the message that hits home. And we did a little study. We're like, okay, we know, like we've seen all the research on how emotional ads or ads with emotional appeal tend to resonate better. We actually broke it down. So we took all of our tech advertisers and we looked at some of their customers. So we dug into the tech category. We pulled out a segment of the top 10% of tech brands that were eliciting the most emoji responses across their content. And what we found was that these top 10% of emotive tech brands outperformed all other tech brands significantly when it came to all aspects of performance, whether it was 25% higher engagement rates, 13% higher click-through rates, and 35% higher lead gen forms than the less emotive brands. So try to find ways, right? Try to find ways to connect, to resonate on a human level with your audience. And if you're not sure where to start, then a really good bet is to look into these different social media trends that are happening on different platforms. There are trends that you see on Instagram or TikTok or other platforms that tend to work really, really well. So I'm going to show you this little funny one that's just from Boots, the UK pharmacy, the drugstore. Have a quick look. They're jumping on the whole Gen Z lingo trend. So I'll play it.
We'll slay the Boots Havster. Boots turns 175 years this year, and we've been based at our Nottingham support office since 1927. Very demure, very stable. We're in a hiring era. We aim with our rewards and benefits. That employee discount just hits different.
Okay, so we all know all the Gen Z slang, like we slayed, we ate, very demure, very mindful. Like it's just humor, right? It's something fun. And I want to point out that even though this video had sound, like 80% of videos on LinkedIn will be viewed with the sound off. So just make sure you have subtitles in there and that can help. Another thing you can do is try to pique interest, right? Curiosity is the ultimate emotion that has been the same from the time that we were cave people roaming the planet, right? Curiosity is this innate human nature. So if you can come in, so Invesco here encourages people to visit their website to play a game that will help them with their financial literacy. Now you might think like finance, game, yeah, see, finance can be really fun too. So it used this animated video to appeal to the students. So I'm going to play it.
Oh, look, my student loan papers. Should I trash these? What do these numbers even mean? Your loans are usually less cluttered than you think, and you definitely can't sweep them under the rug. Okay, then explain away.
And then when you went to their website after you watched that ad, again, it carried on that feel, it carried on that experience. And it's so playful. It's not something you'd expect to see from a financial services brand. Yes, it's also very still true to their brand because they're the official sponsor of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. And so, again, they use tons of data tagging to measure the success, and it proved to be very successful. In the first year, the site had 3.5 million visitors and over 125,000 gameplays. And just to show how long lasting it was, this game launched in 2021 and they're continuing to use it and evolve it and promote it. So a one-time investment just keeps paying off time and time again. And you can also get really creative with spotlight ads. And again, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Maybe you're like, I don't have the budget right now to create a big game or anything like that. Well, you can just use a very unexpected image. So here, Sastrify uses an unexpected image of this laughing woman in a spotlight ad just to grab attention, a compelling stat to keep them reading, and just a valuable tool to get them to click through. So just try to think about the unexpected, the attention grabbing, the really fun thing, and you'll work. Another cool way to infuse emotion is to infuse real people, right? There's nothing more like that, right? People relate to people, people want to talk to other people follow people before they follow brands, right? People buy from people. So if you can get your people there, you can really win. So what we always say is that if you have no creative assets and you want to create something impactful, try to leverage your company's thought leaders, whether it's an executive thought leader or an employee thought leader, subject matter thought leader. They can drive awareness by promoting company news. They can help with consideration by promoting case studies, yada, yada. They can help drive leads. But you can get super creative with thought leadership. It's not just posting the thought leadership or promoting the thought leadership via a thought leader ad. You can retarget on thought leadership. People don't do this enough. In fact, what if you retargeted a thought leader ad and then send people to a sort of messaging ad? That can do really, really well. And it can be also helpful to reach specific audiences, people who've shown interest, but also to localize content, especially if you've got global assets to deal with, for example. So super handy there. But don't just stop at your own people. You can even look at your customers. So if you don't have any thought leaders, if you don't have any assets, you can work with non-employee thought leaders. So if you're running a thought leader ad, you can still run it for a third party. So you could have a customer sharing their case study, and then you can promote it from your brand account too, so you can reach your target audience. So super cool. Don't forget that tip exists. And then if you're really stuck and you're like, I have no time, I have no budget, Purna, what do I do? Use Gen AI, but use Gen AI in a way that's really much more creative than the way others are using it. Right? I love what Volkswagen did when they re-envisioned their product with a Halloween lens using AI. It felt timely, it felt attention grabbing, and it didn't feel so samey. One of the issues that even you might notice with Gen AI content is that it feels so same. You're like, oh, I can tell, I can just read it and I know AI created that. But if you try to use it in different, more creative ways so you can stand out, super fun. And I love even KitKat was so funny. They were like, hey, AI made this so we could take a break. And it's on brand and it's just a wink and a nudge and a little fun way. And by the way, LinkedIn also offers LinkedIn Accelerate, which can just, if you give them a URL, they'll create a whole ad campaign and everything for you. So AI is here for lazy people like me to find success. So now I put together a little, you'll get the deck after the event team will share this out, but I just put together a little like snapshot of what should we be thinking about at every stage, which is what should we be doing. And that is what your creatives can help you do. All right, we talked about overflowing constraints, but sometimes we need to challenge our assumptions about what is or is not a constraint, right? So often you'll see all these lists of best practices. Heck, I have shared these best practices so many times, like, oh, be concise, avoid stock imagery, do this, do that. But I'm secretly a rebel and I like to break all the rules. So this is me saying, like, let's just break some marketing rules, okay? In breaking the rules and sort of doing the expected thing in an unexpected way, you can drive a lot of attention too. So let's start with one of the best practice, right? So one of the best practices is please don't use stock imagery. It generally tends to underperform and it's too easy for your ad to get lost in a sea of sameness and stock images. But what if we just threw out that rule? You can use stock images if you're using them ironically to great effect, right? You can find clever ways to take a stock image and make it your own. So whether it's just a stock image of a duck, you can be like, hey, before walnut, after walnut, just add something fun to it and it works. Or all right, here's another one. If you've ever tried document ad or putting in like the sort of carousel, you would have probably heard the best advice to keep your pages of your document ad to fewer than 10 pages. In fact, 3 to 5 pages tends to work the best. But what if you have a great story to tell and you want to be clever and you want to drive engagement? You can just pull it off. So I'm going to show you a little video of Monzo Bank. Now, Monzo Bank's a UK based bank and they tend to have really fun, engaging content on LinkedIn. They did 100-page document ad, which will keep you scrolling to get the full story. So let's have a look. I mean, this was so silly, but it kept people scrolling, and it was just you want to break all the rules. It's funny, like you won't forget this. Like I saw this, I engaged with it, and then I'm like, okay, I haven't been able to forget it. It's keeps it in mind. It keeps Monzo Bank in mind. Or the other best practice we hear all the time is to keep your ads short and to the point, no clutter. But if you can tell a great story, you want to break that rule. So I love this. Have you seen Surreal? They're this UK based cereal brand. They have the most hilarious out of the box like advertising. So here's the story that they're telling. And so it's not concise, but it's so fun. And I think it works. You be the judge. so silly, but it grabs attention. You want to engage with the ads because you just know there's going to be a payoff in there. So if they had just done a free milk Friday, buy cereal, get milk free, we would have scrolled past. But they made this interactive, they made this engaging, they took you by surprise. And that is one of the reasons why they did so well. So remember, like, sometimes you can even break the ad format, right? You can think out of the box, literally. So Tim Gray is this creator who creates these 3D type LinkedIn ads. And sometimes you literally think outside the box. So hopefully I've given you lots of ideas for today. And I just want to follow the disclaimer. Creative is both art and science, right? You can try all these different fun things, but then you also need to apply the science to test it out and see what works. And so to help you do that, I created a little A/B testing one sheet planner. You can get it at aka.ms/digizone. Just download it anytime, no cost, of course. And if that's going to help you plan your A/B tests, it's a very structured way of thinking about it. I love little formats and frameworks and models. So for me, I found this personally really, really helpful. So I wanted to share it with you as well. So aka.ms/digizone. You'll also get the deck after the session. So if you can only remember 3 things from today, just remember that if you can, just reframe your constraints as creative challenges, and then start by identifying your campaign objectives and constraints, and then find ways that you can think outside the box to do that, and then break the rules in a very calculated way to help stand out amongst all of that noise, all of that clutter in your feed. So with that, I'll say Tashakur Ederim, and then please say hello at LinkedIn anytime. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Purna Virji. Mehmet, I'll give it back to you.
It was really enjoying presentation, and you can hear me right now?
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was really great to watch it. And we have some questions for you. If we have a little bit time, like 5 minutes, I guess it will be enough. Perfect. So I can read the first question to you. Can you describe any technical SEO strategies specifically tailored for LinkedIn content?
Pretty much all that I talked about here is like, I would say, like, there's 2 things to keep in mind. One is don't just focus on bottom funnel only. Like, too often people are like, oh, fill out my lead gen form, do this. You want to try to be a little bit more active on the platform with nurture level content, even with more awareness type content, because people are in different stages of awareness. There's different buyers in B2B especially. So try to make sure that you're fulfilling the full funnel. And then the second thing would say, like, something we're seeing so excellent right now is vertical format videos, like short form videos, like 2 to 3 minutes or less. Vertical format tends to do really well, especially if they're educational and add value. So definitely try that. I'll tell you from personal experience, my video that I put out, they get like so many more impressions and reach and reactions than just a text post, but mix it up anyway.
Perfect. Thank you. And the second question is, which algorithms do you consider when optimizing LinkedIn posts for maximum visibility?
The human algorithm. So I have to think about what's going to work best for my audience. And so here's the thing. Now, I used to work for the search engine. I worked for Microsoft and Bing before. Now I work for LinkedIn. So whether it's search, whether it's social, algorithms only want to do one thing. They want to give people content that they're going to like and enjoy so that they keep coming back and they bring their friends with them. The more people come to our platform, the more money you can charge for ads. And so the more profitable everyone is. And so algorithms are always trying to chase people. They're trying to think about what people will want and enjoy. And you'll see that the content that people like, that get a lot of comments, will tend to get rewarded with a lot more reach. So don't worry about, like, should I post at this time or should I post at this? What does your audience want to see? What is going to resonate best with them? What's the kind of post that's going to get the best engagement? And I'm guaranteeing you that the algorithm will reward good content with excellent reach.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, by the way, we are also posting many content in LinkedIn for Zio or for our other brands as well. And I think the LinkedIn ads is a little bit expensive than the other platforms, but maybe at the end, it brings the most related customer, our most related person to the post, which is really, I mean, fair. But I think it also brings the reality that the organic content is a lot much important for the LinkedIn. Because the ads are expensive, and if you find the best content and strategy, and if you can reach your audience with organic results, it can bring a lot user for the website or other projects as well. So I think it's really key point, especially for the LinkedIn organic, I guess.
I think you need both. So you're absolutely right. We're like organic, your daily content, the bread and butter, that's going to build the brand. It's going to build the brand trust. You're going to be able to test out what works, what formats work in organic. But then if you are seeing something work well in organic, promote it, because organic's only going to reach the people that already follow you. What if you want to reach newer audiences, people like them? You're not going to get there unless you sort of promote, right? So what do I say? Like paid plants new seeds, organic, you nurture the field, the crops. So you need to do both. You plant and you also need to take care of what you've planted. So I agree with you that LinkedIn ads can be more expensive, but remember the trust factor, the quality of the leads that you overall, if you look at it purely like CPC, it can look more expensive. But if you look at like cost per lead and all of that later, it is actually much more cost effective. It can be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. We have some more questions, but I think you already may answer in your presentation, but let me tell you. Do you think we can use AI for creative idea generation? I think yes. If you want to add something. Yeah. Okay. If you maybe have any specific tools like maybe Jasper, or if you want to prefer something about maybe content creation. I don't know if you prefer or not, or if you recommend or not. Sorry, not prefer.
Sure. So I use Copilot. I like Copilot a lot. Microsoft's Copilot is used everywhere. I tend to look at it to help me come up with some ideas or bounce things off of, or usually to find really good research points that I can't. So it's all about having a good prompt. So I'll be like, okay, you are a researcher with many years experience. I want you to find me something that not many people are talking about, but some very unusual research about XYZ, and then it's going to come up. So that will help me unearth unique angles. That's great. The other one I like is Copilot also helps me create sometimes some imagery or illustrations. And then LinkedIn's Accelerate tool for the paid side is people have been seeing a lot of success with that, especially if you're like a small startup, you don't have a lot of time, or you want to just test something new and you don't have a lot of time, then just give it your Accelerate, let it create it for you, and then you can just edit. Like I find it's easier to like edit than to just start from scratch. So those are the three that I use most often.
Perfect. Thank you for the tips. I am also using Copilot's WhatsApp bot. I just edit. I just pin it. It also has some number. If you text it, and you can just chat like in the like in the web interface. And I always took the notes in the Copilot and just talking the daily stuff. So it's pretty cool. Okay, thank you so much for your time again, Purna. It was really great to have you here, and hope to see you in another event in Turkey physically. Hope so.
Please invite me. I don't know. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.